Alright, chapter 23, be impeccable your code of conduct. Your outcome is possible with a greater value. Is it possible to have greater values, to have all your rules aligned to support them, to be asking yourself the right questions, and not be living your values in the moment? If you're being honest with yourself, you know the answer is yes. Also, use one time another has let events control us instead of controlling our states and or decision as to what events means. We need to clearly cut away to ensure that we can still live in our values in which we are committed to ourselves and or way of measuring whether or not actually achieving the value of the daily basis. The young man had achieved enormous success by the time he was 27 years old. He was very bright, well-read. He felt like he had a world by tail. But one day he realized something. He wasn't very happy. Many people disliked him because he perceived himself as haughty and overbearing. He felt that there was no longer in command of his life direction, much less his ultimate destiny. He decided he would take control of his life by setting a higher standard for himself, developing a strategy to achieve that higher standard, and creating a system that he could measure his results daily. He began a selective 12 states that he wanted to experience every day. He would take his life in the direction he wanted. He took out a journal and wrote down the 12 states. Next, he listed the grid of all the days of the month. Every time I violate one of these virtues, he said, I will put a small black dot next to the value for that day. My goal is not have any black dots on the chart. Then I will know I'm truly living these virtues. He was proud to say I did with the chart and showed him in a journal and explained to him the system to a friend. His friend said, great, only I think you should add humility to list of virtues. And Benjamin Franklin laughed and added 13th virtue to his list. I remember reading the story of the Benjamin Franklin's autobiography, Beat Up the Hotel Room in a beat up Milwaukee hotel room. I was on an intense schedule facing the prospect of doing several radio, television, talk shows. I booked signing a free guest event. The night before meeting all these obligations, I said, okay, you here, see, make the best of it. At least you can find your mind. I have recently come up with the idea of values and hierarchies. I created what I thought was a great list of values for myself, only that I feel good about living. But as I reflected upon Ben's list of virtues, I told myself, you have a love of values. Yes, you have a love as value, but are you being loved right now? Contribution is one of the top values, but are the contribution in this moment? The answer was no, I had no great values, but I was measuring whether or not I was truly living them on the moment-to-moment basis. I knew I was a loving person, but I looked back and I saw a lot of moments when I wasn't being loving. I sat down and asked myself, what states would I be if I were my highest and best? What states would I commit to being in every single day, no matter what? Regardless of the environment, regardless of whatever changes break loose around me, I will be states for at least one every day. The states to which I committed myself included being friendly, happy, loving, outgoing, playful, powerful, generous, outrageous, passionate, and fun. Some of these states were the same as my values, and some of them weren't, but I knew that I truly lived each of these states every day. I would be living my values continually. As you can imagine the pretty exciting prospect of the next day to appear on radio talk show, I deliberately put myself in these states. I was happy, loving, powerful, and funny, and I felt that what I said did make a contribution not only to my host, but to the people who were listening and watching. And I went down to a local shopping mall for a book signing. When I got there, a manager approached me in distress expression, said, there's a slight problem, Mr. Robbins. The announcement that you're going to be here signing books is coming out in tomorrow's paper. Nothing had happened before me. I read Ben Franklin's list. I might have reacted rather a unique way, but a new list. And in my mind, I thought, I'm committed to living in these states no matter what. What's the greatest test to see if I'm truly living in my personal code every day? So I walked over to the book signing table and looked around. Nobody was there. Only a few people were strolling through the mall. And how could I create excitement with no one seemed to exist? First thing had popped out in my mind, outrageousness. After all, one state in my list was outrageous, so I picked up a copy of my book, Unlimited Power, and started reading it, making all kinds of interesting noise. What? It's true? Soon a woman walked up the track to me. The enthusiasm clearly had to be a brilliant book, and stopped to see what I was reading. I raved to hear about this incredible book, pointed out all of the best stories and techniques somebody else told, stopped to see what was the hubbub was about. Then a few other folks joined, and within already 20 minutes, about 25 to 30 people were crowding around me to hear about the great book I had found. Finally, I said, and you know the best thing of all, I happen to be a good friend of the author. And the first woman says, eyes lit up, and really, I held the book jacket with my picture on the back and said, look familiar? She gasped and laughed and said, did all the other people that sat down and started signing the books? The afternoon turned out with a terrific success, all of us fun. Instead of letting events of the control my action perception, I consciously chosen to live what I call now the code of conduct. I also had a tremendous sense of the satisfaction knowing that living in these states by the being and truly am, I was meeting my values in this moment. Go put your creed into your deed. Ralph Waldo Emerson. Ben Franklin and I aren't the only one who have codes of conduct. What do you think the Ten Commandments are about, or the Boy Scouts over the American Service Code of Conduct? How about the Optimist Club Creed? One way to create your own code is to review codes of the conduct that already exists. The Optimist Club Creed. Promise yourself to be strong. Nothing can disturb you. And the peace of mind talk to talk health, happiness, prosperity, and every person you meet. To make all your friends feel that there is something of value in them. To look at something side of everything and make your optimism come true. To think about the best and to work only for the best. And to accept the best. Expect the best. To be just and enthusiastic about the success of others as you are about your own. To forget mistakes of the past, press for the greater achievements of the future. To wear a cheerful countenance at all times, giving every living creature you meet a smile. To give such a much time to improvement of your lives that you have no time to criticize others. To be large for worry, too noble for anger, too strong for fear, and too happy to permit presence of trouble. When John Wooden, the great UCLA basket coach, graduated from grade school at age 12, his father gave him a 7-point creed. John says this creed has been one of the most powerful influences his entire life and career. Its creed still lives in every single day. John Wooden's 7-point creed, making the most of oneself. Be true to yourself. Make each day your masterpiece. Help others. Drink deeply from good books. Make friendship a fine art. Build a shelter against a rainy day. And pray God. Give thanks for your blessings every day. You can preach a better sermon with your life than with your lips. Oliver Goldsmith. Today's assignment to make a list of states you committed to the experience every day in order to live in accordance with your highest principle values. Make sure that list is enough to give your life a richness, variety of the deserve you short enough. You can truly be in the state of every day. Most of the people find anywhere from 7 to 10 optimum. What states would you like to be in on a consistent basis? Happy, dynamic, friendly, connected, cheerful, grateful, passionate, balanced, adventurous, amusing, outrageous, generous, elegant. Some of these states might be same as those of moving toward values. Some of them might be things you feel lead you toward the day of values every day. After you've compiled your release, write a sentence with the next to each describing how you will know you are doing it. In other words, your rules for these states. For example, I'm being cheerful when I smile at people. I am outrageous when I'm doing something totally unexpected funny. I am being grateful to remember all good things in life. Making the commitment to yourself to generally experience for each of these days at least once a day. You might want to write a code of conduct on a piece of paper, put it in your wallet, on your desk, at work, or by your bed. And every now and then during the course of the day, take a look at your list and ask yourself, which two of these states have I already experienced today? Which of them haven't I had yet? How am I going to accomplish this at the end of the day? I truly commit you to yourself the code of conduct. Imagine how incredibly you will feel. You will no longer be controlled by events. You'll know that no matter what happens around you, you can maintain a sense of yourself, live up to the vision you created. The tremendous pride that comes from holding yourself to higher standards, knowing each of the day you alone determine how you feel and how to conduct yourself on only the highest level. Wayne Dyer recently shared a greater metaphor with me relating on how people to blame they believe on the pressure they are feeling. He said, pressure does not create negative behavior. Thinking to yourself as orange. If your orange is squeezed, if all the pressure is being applied from the outside, what happens? Juice comes out, right? But the only thing that comes out when pressure is applied is what already is inside the orange. I believe it to decide what's on the inside, holding yourself with a higher standard. So when the pressure's on, what's going to come out? Good stuff. After all, the cannot always count on sailing. It's set up to you live with a code of conduct. Commit yourself to the principle. Can I? And other words to keep true bearing of your course. Remember what your everyday small actions, as well as most grandiose, that build character form your identity. One of the most important acts is you can learn to master your time in your life. Day 6. Testing.